Good evening, sir. I'm Puno Jobhe, BSCRIM3 Black B. So, I discuss forensic photography. So, forensic photography, also referred to as a crime scenes photography, is an activity that records the initial appearance of the crime scenes and physical evidence in order to provide a permanent record for the court. So, there is the differentiate of forensic and photography. So, forensic from Latin word forum, which means a marketplace where people gathering for public discussion. Next is photography from Greek word photos, which means light, and graphos means writing the terms, therefore means writing with light. Reproduction of the image of an object by the action of light, sensitized materials, camera and accessories, and chemical process. Art made by hand and talent and skills. And science is a systematic ways, so there are process, procedure, method, step-by-step process. So, there are the elements of photography. 1. Light. 2 is a sensitized materials. 3 is a camera and accessories. 4 and there are chemical process. So, light means is a clear image. Without light, it will become blurry or electromagnetic energy that can be seen in our naked eyes. So, there are some light that cannot be seen. So, there is a radiation. So, next, so there are two sources of photography rays. So, number 1 is natural light, and number 2 is artificial light. So, the natural light is created by God and coming from the nature. There are the example of natural light is sunlight, moon, star, and lightning. So next is the artificial light, so made by man. So the example of the artificial light is fluorescent bulb, LED light, and flashlight. So number 2, the number two source of photographic rays. Sensitized materials is materials that is sensitive to light. And number 3 is a camera and accessories. Device capture image and object. The number 4 is a chemical process. Chemical process is undergo in a dark room. So next is the police photography. Police photography is gitawag siya nga prevention and solution. So police photography is application of the police work or something to do with crime. So ang police work, naay police work ang police photography. Ang police work is to prevent crime, to identify the criminals. So there is a crime committed when there is a person's violated the law. So naay crime scenes and corpus delicti. So ang crime scenes means is a place where crimes happen. Ang corpus delicti is a body of the crime. So they are the function of photography in the field of law enforcement. So number 1 is identification. So identification is to know the victims, to identify the criminals, to find a missing person, to identify civilians, and to identify stolen property. Stolen property is carnapping muna ang stolen property. Then na instant that the person is criminal, mo gitawag ang person nga ang isa ka person nga sila matawag ng criminal is na violence sa law, if someone file a case of him, and when there is a final judgment, proved beyond reasonable doubt, muna di bali ang persons na matawag siya nga kriminal kung naato ang tulo ka kuan meaning. Then next is another failed of discipline or methods to identify a person. So they are a fingerprint, CCTV, eyewitness, DNA, and facial composite. Next is the communication and microfilm files. To exact details, and it can speak 1,000 of words. Next is the evidence is proof the allegation respecting a matter of the truth. Photograph serve as evidence. Munang evidence. Number 4 is the action of offender. The action of offender is nature of an offense and confession and admission. So ang confession means ang pasabot sa confession is kung ikaw ang mismo nakita sa pag-commit sa crime, nag-confess ka mo ng confession. Ang admission is kung ikaw nag-admit ka nga ikaw mismo ang nag-commit sa crime mo nang pasabot sa admission. And number 5 is court exhibit. A court exhibit, it is considered an exhibit when it is so accepted by court mo nang court exhibit, i-accept sa court decision. So instant to be considered to accept the exhibit when is. So kung ang sabot is kung accept na sa court exhibit, natawag siya competent. Competent does not included by the law. The next is relevant and materials. Ang materials is addresses the senses of the court. Next is number 6, crime or fraud prevention. And number 7 is public relations. Public relation is a bloodletting and feeding program. Ang public relation means. And 8 is police training. Ang police training means document arrests and traffic studies and prepared training files. Munang meaning sa police training. And number 9 is reproduction and copying. Reproduction and copying is a photograph and official record. So next is the history of photography. So the history of photography is Leonardo da Vinci designed camera for accurate perspective and scale. So why it is accurate or correct perspective? So there is a gathering of light. So there are the elements of photography or true photography accomplished by one is Joseph Nicepory of Nepsi. In 1816, obtained camera image on paper. Munang na-create ni Joseph Nicepory na camera. The next is Luis Juarez Mandi Daguerre. In 1839 is Daguerre. Daguerreotype process is produce positive photograph. And daguerreotype process there is establishment of the practical photography. So next is William Henry Fox Talbot in 1841. So calotype process, he discovered positive and negative photograph. So munang na-create ni William Henry ang calotype, ang kang Luis Juarez Daguerre is daguerreotype process. Then next is Sir John F. W. Herschel in 1839 coined the word photography. So why Sir John coined the word photography? It is because right with light. Munang di bali kanang gikuha ni Sir John nga sabot ana nga word is right with light. So next is James Clerk Maxwell. So in 1861, si James Clerk Maxwell is siya ang researcher sa colors. The next is si Alhazen. Si Alhazen is alive around 1000 AD to invented the first pinhole camera called camera obscura or the dark chamber. Next, in order to gather camera, there is what we call optical glass. So it's called light type box camera. So next discuss is the important terminologies of photography. So there are 34 terminologies in photography. So number 1 is relative aperture. So relative apertures, there is a relationship. A picture represent of f number kung gamay ang number of diameter dako ang lens. Kung dako ang number of diameter, gamay ang lens. So purpose, why lens having an adjustment from bigger to smaller. So gather the light to calculate the distance, and then its purpose is control the amount of light passes through the lens. So lens is it is elastic. Number 2 is depth of field. So depth of field is distance between the nearest and the farthest object in to apparent sharp focus when the lens is focused at a given point. So ang depth of field is a clear image. Next is number 3, hyperfocal distance. So the hyperfocal distance is the nearest distance. It depends upon settings. Munang hyperfocus distance yung meaning. So number 4 is depth of focus. So mean circle of confusion. Muna ang depth of focus. Next is distortion. Number 5 is distortion, means opposite of sharp image accessories of camera to avoid distortion. So example, heartbeat is can use distortion in conducting photography. So muna example sa distortion. So number 6 is a circle of confusion. Means is a connection of shutter speed and lens opening. Next is number 7. Number 7 is the angle of view. So means two lines emerging. Number 8 is infinite position. So means the power of the lens that is capable of object. So they are focal lens. Munang focal lens is the infinite position. So number 9 is a resolving power of the lens. So means is a maximum angle of resolution. Then next is number 10 is focus. So focus is a true focus. We will be able to estimate an object in order to have clear or sharp image. Munang meaning sa focus. Number 11 is lens. Lens have the power of resolving the solution of some. So there are some example of lens. So example is a filter. Next balik ko sa focus kay ang focus is the how to focus a particular object. So use a picture. Kung mag-focus kung ang gamit sa focus is gamiton ang picture. So there are ML, TL, OL. So ML means micro lens, TL is a telephoto lens, and OL is a ordinary lens. So ang micro lens is a 0.1 to 10 mm. Then ang telephoto lens is a 100 mm to 50 mm. Then ang ordinary lens is 10 mm to 85 mm. So next is we can estimate piece and focal length. So there are two types of lens. There are positive lens and negative lens. So positive lens thicker, the center of compared to age. Ang negative lens is thinner at the center than age. So ang positive lens is baga ang tunga ang positive lens. Ang negative lens is nipis ang lalo. Kung magtanaw ka sa camera, makita niyo dito ang sa ilalom nga baga muna positive, ang ilalom po munang nipis, muna ang negative. So next is shutter. A shutter is construction place. Next is a filter. Filter is a homogeneous medium. So a filter is kung muna kayo ng filter kay ang ginagamit kung mag-use ta sa gadget, kung magkwantag ka, mag-camera ta, magamit og camera, makita na to sa setting sa camera nga na-filter. So kanang na siya kanang common na sa ato o kabalo na taon sa siya paggamit. Next is a correction filter. So correction filter is a alter response. Next is a contrast filter. So darkening or lighting certain colors. Next is a neutral density filter to reduce the intensity of the brightness. Next is a haze filter, is a minimize haze of the distance object. Next is a polar screen filters, so optical slide. Next is a filter factors, means ratio of the time of exposure. Next is the flash synchronization, means mechanical or electrical adjustment. Next is a parallax error, means displacement of an image. Next is a shape. Shape means general form or configuration. Next is a tone. Tone means light is reflected by an object. Next is a resolution or resolving power, means expression of quality. Next is a magnification, means is optical instrument. Next is a shadow. Shadow means absence or reduction. Next is a light meter, means design to measure the amount of light. Next is a light meter acceptor, so means eye of the camera metering system. Next is a accelerator, means for subpart of the developer. And next is the bellows. Bellows means right type folding. Next is the bracket exposure, means exposure the calculated. And the last is the flash meter. Flash meter means handheld sensitivity. So thank you, sir. Thank you for listening, and this is my discussion of forensic photography.